Hey guys, I'm Zachary Gray, and we're about to spend the next few days camping out on this sandhill with all of these tortoises to find a massive rattlesnake that should be hanging out here.
Which would you prefer to die to, bear or diamondback?
Bear, absolutely. Bear, very epic, cool. A snake, cringe, sad, unworthy.
I've been conducting research on rattlesnakes in my home state for a few years now, but not too far away in the pine savannas of South Mississippi lives the world's largest rattlesnake species, the eastern diamondback. Now, I've spent a lot of time constantly going out to search for them, but instead, I'm going to be camping out by this gopher tortoise burrow until we find one.
First time I've laid down in years.
Looks like our little tortoise friend is actually hanging out this morning. She's pretty chill. What I'm thinking I'll do, I'll go check the cameras for a bit, just kind of wander around a little bit before coming back here and continuing my camp out. This might take a little bit. These snakes just do not move much. And when they do move, it's very short periods of times, either in the morning or evening. Let's go check her out real quick, because we're gonna see her pretty much every day. Hello, hey baby. Her burrow was over there, and she just kind of moved over here. She's out pretty much every single day. You're hanging out. You don't really care that I'm here, huh? Really love it if a diamondback just rumbled out the same way that she does, but that's not really how that works, so we're gonna be camping out with her for a while.
Gopher tortoises are essential for rattlesnakes and many other species, so I've decided to camp right by this turtle. She doesn't seem to mind too much, and I sure don't mind having the company. Not only are we going to be camping out, but I've also strategically placed cameras all around here to see whenever a snake or a tortoise is moving. And it would seem the tortoises are definitely moving.
Oh, it's a baby. Oh, what are you doing, buddy?
Okay, this is a very young gopher tortoise. Now, not truly a juvenile. This could be many, many years old. It takes them a while to grow. But this is a young one, and this is exactly what we want to see out here. We're seeing the young ones move back into these burned habitats. Now, one of this size would be able to create burrows for some of the snakes that we're looking for. And you're going to see all over this property. There's loads and loads of gopher tortoises, and that's great. That's what we want to see. These animals have been heavily hit by all the different land clearing and paper milling and all of that stuff. So seeing an area that has these baby tortoises is just insane. I think what we'll do is we'll follow him back to his burrow, see where he's leading us, because he clearly knows where he's going. That was super cool, and that is the second juvenile tortoise that we've seen newly moved into this area. Notice how fresh all this sand is. There's not even pine needles on top of it. That means that the burning that is being done in this area is managing it to where you get all this fresh growth. That fresh growth and this layer of just debris getting burnt off leaves sand and food, and we are seeing baby tortoises. That is a major, major success to see out here. That's awesome.
Along with the reptiles, there's also a ton of endangered plant life here as well.
Dude. It's a weird looking racer. Milkweed. That's super rare out here.
The sandhills on All You Need Institute are incredibly diverse, and they are doing a great job with controlled burns and managing the habitat. So a big shout out to them for letting me work and camp here.
Alright guys, well, it is nighttime now. Pretty dark. I'm just kind of chilling in my sleeping bag. Hopefully, early morning I can just wake up and see rattlesnakes. Like, that's kind of the idea of this, is just to be right on top of them as I wake up. Obviously the tortoises are going to be here to greet me in the morning.
As our first night comes to a close, I can only hope to find a rattlesnake in the morning. And the next day, we are once again greeted by our favorite neighboring tortoise, and a quick phone notification tells me we've got something in the trap. But before we get to that, I want to thank today's sponsor, you. See, I can only film and research what I do because of the support for the channel from y'all. Viewing and sharing these videos means that you are supporting this channel's work towards more conservation. But for those of you that want to support more specific work being done, we now have the LWA Patreon. Over here, you'll get behind-the-scenes updates, research, hands-on conservation work, and you can even sponsor specific animals like our friendly neighborhood tortoise here. Also, for our first 20 Patreons, I'll be sending these LWA Rattlesnake t-shirts. Once again, a big thanks to you all for supporting these videos and the continued conservation of native wildlife. Now, back to the video.
sucker. Oh, there he is. You're not big enough to get out. Otherwise, you would have done it by now. There we go. That's sweet. This is a really big eastern coach. What am I saying? This is like 2.5 feet. I'm an idiot. Why am I?
I was about to say, what are you talking about? Massive.
They do get a lot bigger than this. They can actually reach lengths of 7 feet long. This is a great snake. You can kind of see he's losing that juvenile patterning right there. Probably towards the end of his life, just this half will be tan and the rest will be black. You can also see on his neck, he's got some really cool looks there. Now these guys eat baby tortoises. They'll even eat pine snakes. They are just a super aggressive species and one that I need to keep tabs on out here to make sure that they're not devouring some of our more endangered species that we're trying to monitor. They're a great snake and they actually are state endangered. It's just, you know, heck you're not a pine snake, you're not a diamondback, you're not a tortoise, so we can't have these guys eating them. But, you know, they kind of occupy different little sections, so all that study is just important for when learnaging. I just combined learning and managing into learnaging. This is not okay. I've just been out here for too long. These guys actually love crazy hot temperatures. They'll be out on these sandhills when it's literally 105, 106 degrees. They just don't care. They love heat, and they're very, very fast, which means these traps, best way to get them. This is my second one out here. And I've needed the trap to get both of them. I've actually missed one today. So the trap, it's a little bit of insurance, I should say, for when I fail to catch these guys. But we're gonna get back to doing what we were doing and let this snake go. But that is a great little addition to the day. Eastern Coachwhip.
A great catch for sure, but not our rattlesnake. I've decided to take a break from the sandhills and check around the mammal burrows a bit, but it seems like everything is underground right now.
Now there's a reason that diamondbacks are so much easier to kill and catch than other species, and it's because for years what people used to do is they'd find holes like this and go, oh, this is a perfect place for a diamondback to hang out, and they dump gasoline down it. And what happens is if you dump gasoline down, it suffocates everything inside, but the diamondbacks are quick enough to get flushed out, and that's how historically all these rattlesnake roundups and all these other really bad procedures have happened. And now I gotta go through all this just to see one. I mean, it should be pretty easy to see them, but I mean, we need to slap them on the endangered list like 20 years ago by now.
I'm sure there's a few rattlesnakes hidden away, but unless one is hanging out at the entrance, there's pretty much no way I can ethically catch one. Hours turned into days. Days turned into 3-second B-roll shots.
I could probably beat upwards of 7 coyotes. If we get around 8, might have to start using some weaponry.
My hair grew exponentially under the looming threat that I might not see another snake all week, and it began to dawn on me. These snakes really need to be put on the endangered species. After a long day of missing snakes seen on cams and following familiar tortoises, I was ready for one last try in the morning.
Alright, good morning guys. That was an interesting night's sleep, I can say that much. I think our tortoise is going to be out up here in a second. I can kind of see her burrow from here. She's not out, but I'm sure she's like around. I'm just going to walk this little circle here real quick and then come back and chill for a bit, but yeah, it's morning. It's nice and overcast actually, so something might be out.
Now keep in mind, I have walked this loop a lot under very similar conditions. You'd think that if there was a rattlesnake here, I'd know by now, right? Well, apparently not.
Oh my gosh! No way! Whoa! I'm assuming this is a little male. He's pretty grumpy. That is so sweet. That is so cool.
Here it is. That is an impressive male eastern diamondback. This guy is wired. He is grumpy. He rattled before I saw him. That is just an insane thing. The males are typically a bit grumpier than the females. And that's why I'm assuming that this is a male. Could be a female, but it's very likely. I'd say like 95% certain that this is a male. The first one we ever saw in Florida was a male, and he did the exact same thing. He began rattling, and he just went off in this little bush. This guy's doing something pretty similar. Whereas the female that we caught prior to this one here didn't make a sound the entire time. One little that was it. She never struck, she never rattled. This guy's rattling, and he will definitely strike. It goes, ooh. Rattlesnakes actually hiss a good bit. Believe it or not, I don't know if y'all can tell, I'm actually a bump close. I don't really like that now that he's facing me, because he can reach to about here. I'm sure that branch would kind of stop him, but he can reach to a good strike range. Eastern diamondbacks in particular can go about, I'd say, a little over 2/3 their body length, so a little bit longer than average strike range for a rattlesnake. I want to pull him out into the open. I'm sure he's not going to like this. He is probably going to try to nail me for this. Hey, bud. Ooh, that is a hefty snake. He's not all that big in diamondback terms. Probably about just barely pushing 4 feet, so maybe like 310-ish, somewhere around there. Whew. He's not happy. He does not like me. What a specimen. We finally got him to face you guys. They're very difficult. They're very aware. They just kind of follow you, and if I would touch him or do anything right now, he's just going to turn towards me. But I want y'all to get a good angle on this snake to see how impressive they are. They're very heavy bodied. They're a hefty animal, and they're hard to miss. Out in these opener areas, if you see one out, it's very difficult to miss. It's oftentimes in high grasses and tall areas like that they're going to be more camouflaged. Whereas on these sandhills, you can see them whenever they move around, but they don't move around too often. Early mornings, late evenings, just for a little while, and then they're done. Notice how he's kind of like twitching his tail. Pretty much all snakes will do this when they're upset. They'll rattle their tail, and then when they're just kind of a little bit aggravated, they'll just kind of twitch it, just to show that they're aggravated, and that's what he's doing here. All snakes do this, it's just rattlesnakes are going to be the loud ones. You're going to hear a rattlesnake. Now if you look at his rattle, he actually doesn't have a very big rattle. It's only about 7, 8, maybe 9 beads, which is a small rattle for a snake of this size. They can get super long rattles, and they gain a bead on the end of their rattle every time that they shed. Now the beads are just scales. They're these little overlapping scales, and they don't have something inside of them rattling around. It's that they're hollow and they're clanking together. And they're rattling up against each other. They're kind of layered over each other, and they create this little weird folding, rattling motion, almost like a kid's toy that's like folded over itself. It just kind of rumbles together, and then they just wiggle that tail. Really, and notice, look at him, he's slowly turning towards me. Why is he doing that? It's actually because he can feel the vibrations from me talking. I've had people make fun of me, being like, I gotta be real quiet, I don't want to bug the snake. And they're like, you idiot, snakes don't have ears. They still do have a pretty decent sense of sound, and you can tell that that's the case because he is slowly turning towards me right now. And that's because he keeps, every time I talk louder, he turns a little bit more. Very interesting how aware these animals are and how little we realize it sometimes. I'm gonna back up just a tad. It may not look like I'm in strike range, but a snake of this size probably has about the best strike range a diamondback can get. Anywhere between 3.5 to 4 feet is when they're not in their physical prime, they're in their mobility prime, which means he can push his body off the ground and kind of sprint. A lot of people don't give this animal the respect that they deserve, and they're really silly with them. They're really goofy because they don't like them. They go and they kill it, or they mess with it and they harass it, and then they end up getting nailed because of it. That's one of the #1 causes of snake bites in North America, is when people are playing with the animals. It's either a pet that somebody's playing with and messing around with and they get bit, or it's a dead one that they killed and they're playing with the dead snake, some muscles go off, whack, the snake ends up biting them, even though they thought it was completely immobilized. And other times, it's just people not paying attention where they're walking. And as you can see, this is a big snake. So you'd have to be really moving through this brush to land on one of these diamondbacks. And I can say this, I've been guilty of that before too, of just cutting straight through heavy brush and not looking exactly what I'm looking at. And that's not safe. You need to watch where you're going, and if you aren't watching where you're going, you gotta have snake boots on. You have to have something that would protect you. I heard a very recent story actually from out here in Mississippi. A guy was walking on his land, going through some briars, and he felt his leg get caught on his jeans. He was like, man, I've got a really bad briar. And he pulls his leg forward, and there's a diamondback attached to his jeans. It had bit his jeans, the fangs caught the jeans, didn't catch his skin, caught his jeans, and was stuck on them. And unfortunately, that snake ended up being killed, which was a real shame, but it just goes to show you, if you're not watching where you're going, you're not gonna always hear a rattle. You're not gonna always see this snake. Those diamonds are pretty camouflaged in the brush. Watch where you're going if you're in diamondback territory. This could be Mississippi, this could be Alabama, Florida, Georgia, anywhere there's a rattlesnake, you need to be aware that they're there. And way out west, I mean, you should always be aware of rattlesnakes. You should be aware that they could be in your yard, virtually anywhere.
And I'm not saying that to create fear of this animal, because I had to come out here and really search and stay here and hang out and look for these snakes. People that are out hunting and doing things like that are more likely to see these snakes than anybody else, but they're not common by any means. The eastern diamondback rattlesnake in Mississippi, by many biologists, is considered to be endangered or threatened. In Louisiana, they're almost entirely extirpated. There's maybe a couple places that they're holding on, but not by much. They're probably going to be gone in my state within my lifetime. I just have such respect for this animal. It's really an incredible thing. And I think that there's a reason that they're an American icon. Don't tread on me. Look at him. He's staying there. He's not necessarily doing anything yet. If I touch him, he's gonna kill me. If I leave him alone, he's just cool. They're great for the ecosystem. They're great to be out here, and they actually indicate a healthy environment. Really great animal. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to check out the last time we found a Mississippi diamondback and talked about why these species should be protected in the state. A really interesting video, that one, and we will see you guys next time. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put him back in his brush here. And he's probably just gonna keep rattling, but that is a sweet, sweet diamondback. Keep rattling. I'd like him to crawl up if he wants to, though. There he goes. Woohoo! Okay. That's a good spot for you to hang out, but he's just gonna keep rattling. I'll call that a release and just leave him be. That's awesome.